Howling Success by Gary Bishop. In Yellowstone National Park, a gray wolf sends its eerie call into the wild. You might say it's howling for joy. When you look at this photo and think about wolves, what would come to mind? Wild, scary, awesome? Over time, people have had all kinds of feelings about wolves. Some people have admired and even worshipped them, but far too often people have feared or really hated them. In fact, many American pioneers disliked wolves. They worried that the predators would attack their cows, sheep, horses, or even children. So they killed every wolf they could. The U.S. government even encouraged this widespread killing. As a result, by the mid-1900s, only about 400 wolves still survived in the lower 48 states. The comeback begins. Then things begin to change in 1973. The Endangered Species Act became law. It helped protect gray wolves and many other animals and plants that were in danger of becoming extinct. But was it enough just to protect the few remaining wolves? Would it have been better to try bring wolves back to some of the places they once lived? Many people thought so. That's where this success story really begins. Catch and release. Yellowstone National Park is one of the wildest places in the United States, but until a few years ago, something very important was missing: wolves. The one that had lived there had all been wiped out. To set things right again, the U.S. government decided to bring wolves back to Yellowstone. The plan took off in 1995 when scientists captured 14 wolves in Canada. Wolves were still plentiful there. Then they took the captured wolves to Yellowstone and put them into huge outdoor pens. As soon as the wolves got out to their surroundings, the scientists set them free in the wild. Finally, after 70 years, wolves were roaming Yellowstone once again. Early success. With a few hours of leaving their pens, the wolves made their first kill. It was an elk, a kind of huge deer that had been their favorite prey in Canada, and the wolves, it seems, were quickly making themselves right at home. Elk had been living wolf-free in Yellowstone for many years. Their herds had grown bigger and bigger. More young adults grow into adults. Even the old and weak herds members managed to survive longer than usual. But from now on, the wolves would help keep the number of elk under control. Waiting game. As some wolves pace nearby, an elk finds safety in an icy stream. Later, the pack gives up the hunt to bed down while the elk dashes to safety. With so many meals on hooves running around, life was good for the wolves. Plenty of food meant they could raise plenty of pups. During their first year in the wilds of Yellowstone, the wolves gave birth to a grand total of 9 little ones. Meanwhile, scientists captured 17 more adult wolves in Canada and released them into the park. In the spring of 1997, 9 different Yellowstone wolf packs had a total of 67 new pups. Scientists were going to capture and bring still more wolves to the park. But with the wolf numbers already growing so quickly, they decided that this was no longer necessary. The plan was working out even better than they had hoped. Over the past 13 years, wolves have been thriving in Yellowstone National Park. Today, more than 170 of them are scattered among 11 packs there. Elsewhere in the West, wolves have made an amazing comeback too. Are the animals truly safe yet? Scientists are doing all they can to make sure they are. For instance, they're keeping track of their pack's movements and frequently checking in on the wolves' health. They're also watching the packs defend their territories, and they're studying elk and other wolf prey to see how they're surviving in a new kind of world, one where wolves often rule. The Missing Lynx by Catherine Crankick. Meet the most endangered wildcat in the world, the Iberian lynx. 100 years ago, thousands of these lynx roamed Spain and nearby Portugal, part of the region that makes up Iberia. But by 1900, they were missing from almost the entire area. Fewer than 100 remain in the wild. There are a number of reasons why Iberian lynx have become so rare. One reason is that some of the land they need has been taken for farming and building. Another is that the roads cut through the lynx habitat, so the cats are sometimes hit by cars. Also, people illegally kill them. But one of the biggest reasons the lynx are disappearing has to do with their diet. These cats eat rabbits and little else. Unfortunately, in the last 60 years, rabbits and lynx areas have been almost wiped out by disease and hunting. As the rabbits disappear, the lynx have too. So this is really as much as a story about missing rabbits as it is missing lynx. To save the lynx, scientists have to help the rabbits. To help the lynx, scientists came up with a plan to bring back the rabbits. They created rabbitats. The word is a cross between rabbit and habitat. And the rabbitats are artificial burrows, tubes that go underground in the way that real rabbits do. Scientists put fence around big areas containing the rabbitats, and the fences were high enough to keep out rabbit predators such as foxes, mongoose, and boars. But lynx could easily jump over them. That meant that they have to compete with other predators for food. Finally, the scientists released more than 1,000 rabbits into the rabbitats. The rabbits had been given shots to protect them from disease. With fewer predators and the ready-made burrows to live in, the rabbits were able to start breeding right away. Operation Lynx. Putting back the rabbits was one part of the puzzle. Putting back the lynx was another. The scientists first saw how endangered the Iberian lynx had become. They took some wild lynx and brought them into the breeding centers. There are animals that can mate and have babies in safety. The goal was to have more lynx to release back into the wild. Over the years, the lynx in the breeding centers multiplied. Finally, it was time to release some of them, making lynx welcome. Before that could happen, scientists needed to work with landowners to stop them from killing lynx that came into their properties. The landowners wanted to hunt the rabbits for themselves and didn't want the lynx to get them first. Now, scientists have been able to convince many landowners to allow lynxes to live on their land. And the scientists explained to the landowners that lynx keep their rabbit predators out of their territory. That means there can still be plenty of rabbits for both lynxes and the hunters. Once many landowners had agreed, the lynx were released. Hope for the future. The lynx have adapted well to their new home and are even having lots of babies. In addition to releasing captive bred lynxes, scientists also moved some wild lynxes to the new areas where they hadn't been in a long time. After these efforts to rescue the Iberian lynx, there is some good news. In the last 10 years, the lynx population has tripled. Today, more than 300 lynx roam free. There is still a long way to go, but the hope is that special cats are on their way to recovery.